In December of 2021, Russia gave NATO an ultimatum. They demand that NATO stops all military activity in the Baltic states, including Estonia, my home country, and they demand that NATO would never accept Ukraine as a member. This attempt from Russia to stop new countries from joining NATO has actually pushed Sweden and Finland closer to joining NATO. Hello my friends, my name is Artur Rehi and I am an Estonian soldier.
Muidugi on see 120 mm miinipilduja.
Why is Russia so much against NATO? What are they afraid of? Well, NATO has something called Article 5, collective defense. Collective defense means that an attack against one member of NATO is an attack against all members of NATO. NATO invoked Article 5 for the very first time after 9/11 attacks against the USA.
An armed attack on one or more of the allies in Europe or North America shall be considered as an attack against them all.
My friends, in every one of my videos I will do the patrons. I will name you 3 new patrons who pledged 10 or above. We have Levi Brandt. Thank you Mr. Brandt for supporting the channel. We have Nicholas Evers. Thank you Mr. Evers for helping the Estonian soldier out. Finally we have Tait Larson. All of these names pronounced as an Estonian, butchering your names. Thank you Mr. Larson for supporting the channel. If you like these videos, you want me to keep making them, Patreon link is in the description below. Thank you my friends. USA and Russia are trying to talk it out. On 21st of January, only a few days ago, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and the Secretary of State of USA, Antony Blinken, met. And Lavrov said that Russia has no current plans of invasion in Ukraine. Russia's actions say otherwise. 100,000 troops massed at the border, along with tanks, BTRs and trucks. These troops are ready to move. Also on January 18th, Russian landing crafts are spotted in UK. They have left the Baltic Sea. Why? Perhaps they're going to be used in Ukraine. All of this has pushed Sweden and Finland to ramp up their military expenditure and take the Russian threat more seriously and perhaps even join NATO. I have a video lined up for you, let's watch it.
The way Russia treats its neighbors leave much to be desired. Against the backdrop of the Ukrainian crisis, Russia has mobilized about 100,000 troops on Ukraine's eastern frontier. Meanwhile, Russian policymakers have published a list of demands to de-escalate tensions, including a ban on any future NATO expansion. The abrupt crisis has fired up debate in Helsinki and Stockholm about NATO.
You can see on this map, NATO involves the biggest and strongest countries of Europe, except for Finland and Sweden. Finland definitely has a very capable military.
Both nations are now rethinking whether it's safer outside or inside NATO. Russia's foreign ministry joined the debate by stating that Finland and Sweden joining NATO would have serious military and political consequences that would require an adequate response from the Russian side.
Russia is saying that Finland and Sweden, if you decide to join, there will be consequences. If a country wants to join NATO and then is threatened by a bigger country, I don't think there is freedom to choose. Right now this means that Finland and Sweden must not join NATO because of fear of Russia. That is not freedom.
Considering what's at stake for the Russians, they're not bluffing. But whether this threat means an embargo, open hostilities or a proxy conflict is up for speculation. Either way, the Russians will not sit idly by and watch their security dwindle. Right now, the lack of political consensus is the primary reason discouraging Finland and Sweden from joining the ranks of NATO. Public opinion is a dynamic force determined by distance, time and culture. If Russia provoked a crisis with Japan, it would bear little influence on Europe. But when Russia generates a conflict with Ukraine, the culture, time and distance are compatible enough to shape public opinion in neighboring states.
Yes, and the conflict in Ukraine is very slowly pushing Sweden and Finland towards NATO. In the statistics of public opinion, Sweden and Finnish opinions of NATO have very slowly grown. In the span of a few years, maybe they will want to join. In democratic countries, of course, it would take a referendum, and most of the people will have to want to join. Let's take the case of Finland. Finland is the largest and strongest artillery in Europe. And they can raise a force of 280,000 men and women in mobilization right now. Bear in mind, these are the same numbers almost as in Winter War. Finland is in the European Union, but not in NATO. It shares the biggest border with Russia in the EU. While it's not in NATO, it has really ramped up its cooperation with NATO countries. So it's militarily very cooperative towards NATO members. It just hasn't joined yet. And this cooperation has culminated in Finland buying 64 F-35As from the United States. These jets will replace Finland's aging fleet of F-18s, also from the United States. The first F-35s will be delivered in 2026, so there's a few years to go. Why this is important? Well, in the Cold War, before Soviet Union collapsed, Finland had MiG-15s and MiG-21s. They had these planes up to 1995, so they bought their planes from Soviet Union or Russia, but from 1995 they have bought their jets from United States. That has shown the change in foreign diplomacy in Finland, more towards the west, away from the east. F-35 fighters are expected to remain in the service up until 2060s, so they will have a strong 30 to 40 years of service. Finnish President Sauli Niinistö has said that the freedom of maneuvers for Finnish country also includes the possibility of joining NATO.
Ja hakea NATO-jäsenyyttä, jos niin itse päätämme.
That goes against Russian threats that Finland should not join NATO because of Russian consequences. Niinistö specifically says their freedom means their choice to join NATO when they want it. Niinistö also said that the business of expanding NATO is between NATO members and the applying country, and it doesn't involve Putin. To join NATO, you need to have 2% of your GDP to go towards military spending. Estonia has 2.31% of GDP, one of the highest percentages in Europe actually. Sweden has taken the situation of Russian threats even more seriously. Sweden has deployed troops in Gotland, its island in the Baltic Sea. This island is very important because it projects all of the power throughout the Baltic Sea. Who controls that island controls the Baltic Sea. The Swedish defense minister said that they will increase their military expenditure 40% as tensions grow between Russia and Ukraine, and these tensions spill towards Western Europe also. Sweden, like Finland, not in NATO, but they have military contracts with almost all of the NATO members. They sell weapons. Sweden is a very big weapons exporter in the world.
Could you please explain what kind of exchanges happened today?
We delivered the Carl Gustaf M4 recoilless rifle system to the Estonian Defence Forces. Estonian Defence Forces are really important user for us because they've been using the M2 for quite a while.
They also have military cooperation with almost all of the NATO members and joint exercises also. Why Sweden is so afraid of Russia if they have Finland as a buffer zone between Russia and them? Well, we have Kaliningrad, the Russian enclave in the EU, which is the most militarized piece of land in Europe. And from Kaliningrad to Gotland, the Swedish island of major importance, there's only 330 kilometers, putting Sweden's biggest cities in striking force from Kaliningrad. That's the situation with Finland and Sweden, two of the most powerful Northern European countries who haven't joined NATO. My friends, if you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel and please become a patron. I enjoy making these videos for you and I hope to do it in the future also. Until my next videos, stay cool my friends, and bye bye.